and welcome to you from content consumers to content creators. I'm Brenda Haug, and I will be your facilitator for today. Just to tell you a little bit, before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about this technology that we're using. It's called ReadyTalk, and there are different things that you can do. You should see the text chat, and you are welcome to put questions in the text chat or let us know if you're having any tech difficulties, anything like that. Use the text chat for that. And by default, all lines are muted. So you can hear me, you'll be able to hear Donna, who is our special guest today, but otherwise lines are muted. Just a tip, if you do lose your internet connection, just go back to that email, the registration email, go back to that and follow the link again and come back into the room. Some of you may be using the phone for your connection, for audio, and again, same thing with that. If you lose the connection, just redial again, and most of the time things are okay then. If you have, Stephanie can also help you in the text chat if you are having tech trouble, so let her know there too. And then we have ReadyTalk's support number there too. So if you really have some tech troubles that we're not able to resolve with Stephanie, then we'll maybe turn you over to them and see if they can get things fixed. But thank you so much for being here. We're glad to see so many people interested in this topic. Just to let you know, you are being recorded. This webinar is being recorded. It will be available on the TechSoup website, and there are other past webinar presentations there too. I'm going to send out an email to all of you after today's session. So there's a link right there, and we're going to have many other links throughout the presentation. Don't worry about needing to grab those. We will send out that recording after the session, send out that email after the session, and it will have links to all of the sites that are referred to today. You'll also get this presentation. You'll get the PowerPoint slides, and again, we'll send that out after today's session. Okay, so again, today's topic is from content consumers to content creators, capturing local knowledge with LibraryYOU. And LibraryYOU is a special project of the Escondido Public Library. And we have our special guest with us today is Donna Fettern, who is behind LibraryYOU. Donna, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. Hi Brenda. My name is Donna Fettern. I am the Digital Services Manager at the Escondido Public Library. That's in the northeast corner of San Diego County. And yes, I'll be here today talking about LibraryYOU, our project that we've been doing for almost a year now.
Thanks, Donna. And again, you can see on the slide that Stephanie is here too, Stephanie Girding, and she's in the text chat. She'll be monitoring questions and keeping track of those, so Donna and I are sure to address them. And if you have tech difficulties, Stephanie can help with those too. So to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today, I have 3 quick things to introduce, which are TechSoup for libraries, and then the EDGE benchmarks. And then the main content of today's session is LibraryYOU and thinking about this role of content creation and how libraries can foster that. And then we'll have lots of time at the end for questions and answers. So again, feel free to ask your questions throughout, and then Stephanie will be tracking those, and then we will get to those at the end of the presentation. Okay, TechSoup. This is a TechSoup webinar. TechSoup is a nonprofit organization, and it works with nonprofits and libraries all over the world and distributes a big thing that TechSoup does, and I think many libraries know about this, but if you don't, it's definitely something to check out, is they have software technology donations. So you can get really low-cost free or really low-cost software for the library, and also nonprofits can do that. So if you haven't looked into that, I encourage you to check out TechSoup. And then TechSoup for libraries is a special section of TechSoup that is aimed at libraries and the different services that TechSoup can provide for libraries, and lots of content that is especially designed for libraries. And again, links to these organizations, links to these sites will be included in that follow-up email. Today's webinar is part of a series of webinars that we're doing that are based on the EDGE Initiative benchmarks. And this is the second one. Last month we did a webinar on helping people use e-readers. And that was our first benchmark webinar. And I'll include a link to that if you're interested in how to help people with e-readers. You'll get a link to that. But the EDGE Initiative, it's a coalition of library and government organizations, including TechSoup, including the Public Library Association, including WebJunction, including some state libraries. It's a coalition, and what this coalition is doing is developing some benchmarks that can help libraries evaluate and improve their technology services. And right now there are 13 beta benchmarks. And last month we talked about the first benchmark, again, which is helping people with technology and fostering digital literacy in your community. This month we are on benchmark 2, which is libraries provide access to relevant digital content and enable community members to create their own digital content. And I think that LibraryYOU and Donna's project really represent benchmark 2, and I think are a great case study for people who are doing things or who are thinking about doing things in this area. Okay, so let's go ahead, introduce those 3 organizations, and let's go ahead and dive into talking about LibraryYOU. And I think for this, Donna, I'll just turn it over to you and have you describe LibraryYOU for us, for people who maybe haven't had a chance to check out the site. Can you just give us a description of LibraryYOU?
Okay. LibraryYOU is a project to share local knowledge. So we have defined it as 3 separate pieces that work together. First is the recording studio that we built in the library to create podcasts and videos. And then there's the website, which you're seeing on the screen in front of you right now. And this is for showcasing the digital content that we create in the recording studio. The purpose of the content on this site is really how-tos and tutorials and a little bit of oral histories. So we do short, less than 10-minute videos by local experts on their area of expertise, and we do slightly longer podcasts. So they've been up to about 30 minutes, and those have all been oral histories so far. The third piece is public training classes to help our community learn about podcasting and making online videos themselves. A lot of the content on this site has actually been done by LibraryYOU staff, but the public training classes are really trying to get people making the content on their own. So this was funded by an LSTA grant that was administered by the California State Library. We were given the grant August of last year. It started October of last year. Our website went up in January of 2012, and the grant period just ended at the end of August. So we're on our own now. We have had local experts contribute 37 videos and 3 podcasts to what has become our digital collection. So everything on the LibraryYOU site has also been cataloged in our library catalog, and it's part of our growing digital collection. And we have taught 6 training classes, and we're gearing up to start scheduling some more. So far, over 3,600 people have looked at the LibraryYOU site, and they're coming from all over the world, which is really exciting. We've had over 68 countries look at our LibraryYOU site. We've had hundreds of views on some of our videos, our most popular videos. And we're really getting a lot of local interest too. Of the 3,600 people who've looked at our website, over 1,000 of them are from Escondido, and they were our main audience. Do you want me to do anything else about the description, Brenda? Or does that sum it up the way you understand it?
Yeah, I think that's a great intro, and I'm guessing people will have questions in the text chat that they can start entering too. One of the things that I think is people are probably wondering is just what's the technology that's involved with this? You said you have a recording studio and a training classes. What kind of technology do you have to support this project?
Well, we had an iMac from a previous grant. It was called Digital Story Station. So with our grant money, we upgraded that iMac because it was several years old, and then we bought an additional iMac. The software that we're using largely is just iMovie, which comes free on Apple and Mac computers, and then Adobe Audition for our podcasts and any of our audio editing that we have to do. The website was built on a content management system called Mojo Portal, and this is what we used to redesign our library website. It was something that the city of Escondido had researched and decided upon for the city's website redesign a year ago, and so I'm familiar with it, so we just built it on that. But if anybody is looking to maybe do digital archives online, a lot of libraries are using Omeka, O-M-E-K-A. That's a great choice. We just didn't have the technology, the money for that. You can host that free on your own server, but it uses LAMP technology, which we just did not have. Then all of our videos are actually hosted on Vimeo. We decided on Vimeo instead of YouTube because it's more of a creative, artistic place to be. We didn't want quite as many of the negative comments perhaps that sometimes you get on the YouTube videos. We didn't know how much traffic we get, but we were trying to make it a good experience for some people who were creating content for the first time. So we decided on Vimeo, and then our podcasts were hosted on SoundCloud, but we will be moving those over to a website called Libsyn. It's L-I-B-S-Y-N, which is a little better for podcasts, so that's coming soon. As far as recording studio equipment goes, we purchased several Canon Vixio HD video cameras. We purchased tripods, microphones, mixing board. There's all kinds of audio and video cables and headphones lying around. We have backdrops and a green screen for some of the special effects. And then we also have an iPad that we played around with for a little bit, and the iPad can video record, but you can also edit using a stripped down version of iMovie as an app on the iPad, and you can upload from there as well. So you could do everything just on that one machine. And then we have lighting and stands and umbrellas, so just the basics, I think, for you know, an amateur. We're just starting up a recording studio.
Okay, great. I'm trying to track all of this. One of the things in that follow-up email that I'll send out to people, I just want to include links to different software and tools that are available. So I'll maybe run that by you, Donna, before I send it out, just to be sure that I captured all that and spelled things correctly and have the right links and things. So
okay,
good. That's a great list of resources. Well, okay, so that's the tech side. That's what stuff you had, the hardware and software. How about, did you have staff with skills to do all of this?
Yes. When I wrote the grant so we could have 2 staff that were paid by the grant. So we had a recording studio coordinator and a recording studio assistant. The recording studio coordinator actually worked at a local video game company before he came to us. He does 2D and 3D animation, and is just very creative in all areas of his life. And while video editing and recording wasn't something he'd done a lot, he was somebody who was ready to just learn everything on the spot. So to have someone who's creative and who's always learning was really beneficial for us, because he never stops. He got a subscription to lynda.com, and he started learning about iMovie, and it was very interesting to see he and the recording studio assistant both draw in their free time. And sometimes you get free time when you're in the recording studio, and it was really neat for me to see not only are these people good at creating a story through video and video recording and editing, but they're creative in a lot of different aspects of their life. So while they were rendering a video, while they were waiting for that video to be done, they just sit there and draw, and it was really neat to see, because for me, that's not really my strong point. It's not really that creativity, that creator, that maker sort of piece that these two had. And so that was really exciting that I got people that were always coming up with new ideas, that were very creative, were always looking at new angles and different ways to tell a story through video. I was also able to hire a digital services librarian. He's the one person who is continuing with this project because unfortunately when the grant ended, so did funding for the recording studio staff. But the digital services librarian position was frozen and we had a retirement, and I was able to hire right before the grant really got going. And so when I was hiring, I was also sort of looking for people who might have a little bit of video or audio recording. And so I got somebody who is actually a musician, has done music with computers, who's done his own podcasting. And so that was really great because he was really our audio editing expert in this. He created videos and podcasts, all of the podcasts he did. He's helped me with the public training and the web updates. And both he and the recording studio coordinator also went out in the community a bit with me to help recruit and identify people who would be good contributors, people who would make really great videos for this project. And then I'm the last piece of that puzzle. It was my idea, and I set up the website, and I do some of the web updates. But I'm not making the videos or the audio. I'm really trying to help coordinate the staff. And the best piece for me was becoming a talent scout, to actually go out in the community and to meet people who were interesting or an expert in some way or another, and be able to say to them, I think you're great. You should become part of the library's digital collection, and we have a recording studio come in and share your knowledge with us, and to really be that person, that talent scout. And then my staff actually kind of became talent managers. They were there really helping people put their best face forward and really tell their story in the best way in their videos. So that's my team.
So what has the response been? You said you've been the talent scout out in the community. How have people responded to that? Are people shy about it? Are they eager to do it? What kind of response have you had?
People have been actually very eager to do it. I thought that when I was looking forward in this project, when we first got the grant and I started developing it, I thought the hardest part is going to be convincing people that they want to be a part of this project. And honestly, we've had no time in our schedule for using the recording studio that has been empty. We have constantly had a flow of people interested in this project, and people who have contributed one video have called us up and said, I'm ready to do my next one. So they've had such a good experience, they've wanted to share more. I went out to the previous slide. I'll just go back to that. That's the digital services librarian and myself and our teen librarian. We're at our local farmers market, which is just 2 blocks away from the library. And we went out one day just to tell people about LibraryYOU and to see if we could recruit anybody. And just the people around us at the farmers market were interesting people who were intrigued by the project and were maybe willing to contribute a video. Nothing has happened with them so far, but we did have some interesting people there. And everybody we stopped said, you know, that's a really good idea, you guys. I'm really glad I stopped to talk to you, which was surprising for me because we still had this idea that library is about books. And people kind of got that we would also want a digital collection, a local expert collection at the library, and that it would be a good place for people to get access to a recording studio. So that's been really wonderful. Another good place for me was I joined Toastmasters at the beginning of this project to improve my public speaking skills. And Toastmasters is a really great place to meet local experts in your community. And you get a taste of what they're knowledgeable about through their prepared speeches. So I was able to pick off several people just in my Toastmasters group. You know, we have a patient advocate who has done one of the videos. We have a beekeeper and bee advocate who's done several videos for us. We have a retired Navy physics guy who is actually more interested in doing videos on magic tricks and card tricks for us. He's found those beneficial to him. So, so that was really exciting to just see these people, learn about these people, make friends with these people, and introduce them to what is new at the library. But so far, yeah, you know, people read articles about LibraryYOU in the local newspaper. They'll see the posters in the library and find out about the project. I've made several speeches to local groups and told them about the project, and they've all been very receptive. And one of the things, when I first imagined this project, I thought, well, we'll have a recording studio in the library and we'll make videos and put them on our website. And I thought maybe we'd do advocacy, library advocacy. And then as I started to think about it and as I talked to some of my colleagues, I decided to focus on how-to and tutorial videos, because there is something in it for the people in your community that have their own small businesses. You get content from them. You get these how-tos and tutorials that you add to your digital collection, but they also are able to share this content on their own website. So we have a quilter who is, she must be world famous because we get hits from around the world for her information on our website. And she had never had a video on her website before. She just published books, and she was really excited that she was able to show some of her basic techniques to some of her fans through her website just by sharing our LibraryYOU video on her website. So they saw that there was a little bit something in it for them as well, and that gave them that extra incentive to make some time to come to the recording studio, to come to our classes, to start learning a little bit more about how video could work in their own businesses and their own lives. So that was a great bonus.
That is great. Ever since web technology started becoming popular, I've seen that with quilters especially. It's such, I would not have thought that there would be a connection, but it's just, there seems to be a big connection. Well, it looks like we're getting a lot of good questions, and so we'll jump to those pretty soon. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity just to share any kind of general advice. I know this is the kind of project lots of other people are thinking about starting in their libraries, or they have started, probably, you know, different flavors or different types of things. But what is some of the advice you would give to people if they're thinking about this type of project in their library?
Well, I've imagined a very stripped down version for people who don't really have the money or the staff. So I'll talk about that first. The first thing you really need to do is find a place to host your videos, and you can just use YouTube. You can set up a free YouTube channel to host your videos. In order to record the videos, you could use a webcam or a cheap flip camera, or the video function on a digital camera. So you probably already have something like that lying around. If you don't have an iMac, you can always use the free Windows Movie Maker software on PCs. I've used that before in my own personal life. I won't say that I'm a video editing expert, but it does everything you need it to do to pull together a video. For podcasting, you can do audio editing using the free Audible software, which is what we used when we were teaching our podcasting classes to the public. So they had an opportunity to go home and download the free software and start using it right away. If anybody really wants to do this project, I'd happily share the logo that we've made or any examples of our MARC records just to get you started if you want to catalog your items. And if you don't have a staff member that has these skills, the video and audio editing skills, just find somebody who wants to learn. I mean, the whole point of this was that anybody can do it. That's why we're teaching the public classes. So if you have somebody who is tech savvy enough, who wants to just start playing, or who wants to take some of the online tutorials on a site like lynda.com, it is possible for somebody to learn this themselves instead of having somebody who's already coming to you with experience. Or you could partner with a local high school or a community college that has a video production program and start offering free internships. Our recording studio assistant came to us from a local high school. He was recommended by his teacher, and this was his first job. He was so excited. He kept saying, now I finally have something to put on my job applications in the work experience category. And I said, what a cool job you have too, because I mean, my first job was at a movie theater. You know, you get to say that you actually have an online portfolio of videos that you have recorded and edited. So that was really exciting for him, even if he did get paid, but some other teens or college students might just be willing to do it for the free experience, just for something to put on their upcoming applications for future jobs. We also said that we'd accept videos created by community members, so make sure to write a collection development policy for this. If people submitted videos, which hasn't happened yet, but if they submitted videos, they would have to pass our collection development guidelines. So that's another way you can just have people submit. You could have a contest for people to submit content that would then become part of the library's digital collection. And the one thing that we don't have that I would encourage is to find, well, we made a decision that we just needed the space for the recording studio, and so right now it's in an office behind our Friends of the Library shop. So it's really not publicly accessible, and that's the one thing that I regret, is that we don't have any public space for people to access the equipment. So I know digital media labs are popping up in libraries all over. Illinois has a lot of them. The Skokie Public Library is a great example of a library with a digital media lab. I would really like this to be a lot more open to the public. Right now we're probably going to have to set up 30-minute, 1-hour one-on-one sessions with staff and anybody interested in using it. So see if you have any space. If you have a computer that you want to dedicate to this, if you have some space in the public floor so people can access this technology on their own without having to have staff let them into a locked office on their own. So that's my advice right now, but there might be more questions that address that. I'd be happy to answer.
Sure, and this screenshot, Donna, I think one of the things that I like so well that you did with this project is you kind of had a behind-the-scenes blog that you were keeping where you tracked progress, which I think is a great learning tool for people who are thinking about starting to get into projects like this. Do you want to briefly tell us about the blog?
Yeah, I started the blog just to track this because I think that other libraries should do this. It turned out really well for us. I've had a couple libraries interested in possibly starting their own, and I'm available to give people advice or tell them how we did it or give you options of things we didn't do that I wish we had done. So the blog really tracks how we publicized it, the equipment we purchased, some of the feedback that we got. So that's out there too. You'll probably send that out. Just libraryyou.org is where I have the blog. I think I would have blogged a little bit more if I'd had the time, but there should be some things on there. I didn't just want to track the progress, but I wanted to actually give you concrete advice of what we did and what you could do as well. So I hope it's a helpful blog, not just a diary of how it was going. So.
Okay, well I think this is a good point for just a few of these questions that we're getting. I'll start throwing some of them at you, Donna. Question about how do you schedule the studio time?
I left that up to the recording studio staff. We had a real steady stream. We didn't have an overwhelming stream of people. We're going to have to do that now that we're down to just one staff person whose full-time job is not LibraryYOU. So we have not done scheduling so far. I really just left it up to the recording studio coordinator to call the contributor and set up a time that they could come in. We did set up a Google Calendar, so staff wasn't double booking the room. So that worked just fine. We all had rights to view and edit the Google Calendar, so if somebody was scheduled on an 8 a.m. on a Monday, then we wouldn't double book for somebody doing a video and somebody else doing a podcast on that morning. So far that's how we handled it, because we had multiple staff actually using the room.
Okay, great. And then this one I think you may have already answered. So people at this point always have assistants when they come in to do a video or podcast. Is that right?
Right. So far they've always had assistants.
Okay. And the video makers, do they need to get their idea okayed by the library first? Did you have any examples of people wanting to do a video on something that you didn't think was a good fit?
We never said an outright no to anybody. We had some people that, if you read the guidelines, we really don't want it to be an advertisement or an endorsement of somebody's business. And so my staff is really good, especially the recording studio coordinator who has helped people write books before, and he knows what works. So he had to work with them on, okay, we can't do this. This doesn't fit our guidelines. So why don't we move it in this direction? We started having people create outlines. We're going to be doing that a little bit more because some of our videos started getting long, and we thought we really need to, this is one of the downfalls that we didn't see coming, is that 10 minutes for a video for some people is too much, and for other people it's just not enough time. They want to keep talking. And so really sitting down with somebody and saying, what is it that you want to talk about? Can you create an outline for that or a script that we can go over? We had several people create scripts for us that got okayed by us. So we make sure that it fits within, with online videos, people don't have the attention span. That's not the point of the videos that we were making. We wanted to do short introductions or just really short how-to videos. And so we had to explain to people who were kind of going off the topic there how to get back on. And so it really helps having somebody who can manage people and work with people on their outline or on their script to make it something that works for LibraryYOU.
Do contributors sign a licensing agreement?
Yes, and that's something that I can make available for people if they want to take a look at. They just sign a release form letting them know that we will be sharing this online. All of the things usual release forms do. I don't have one in front of me. Well, I do have one. It's me somewhere here. But, we just have them say that they are the property. All the digital files are the property of the Escondido Public Library, and that the library is not responsible for unauthorized duplications of the images. If you look on the LibraryYOU site and you take a look at the description and the full description of any of the videos, we do have a little note on there, and I'm pulling it up because I can't remember it from memory. And the full details on any of the video things, it says this digital file may be used for educational purposes as long as it is not altered in any way. Prior written permission from the Escondido Public Library is required for any other uses. So that's out there for people who may be wanting to use our videos. So we do have that on there, but I think so far the release form has worked out okay. We did have one person recently who was a little bit concerned about it because she'd had a bad experience in the past with somebody using something that she created for them. And it's something that people need to be aware of. If you're creating something that's going on the Internet, you're giving up a little bit of control. And if you're not comfortable with that, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. It's something that is a learning process for some of these people who aren't as familiar with creating content for the Internet. And so many things happen to your content once you put it on the Internet. And whether it's lawful or not, you have to be prepared for some of those things. I mean, we haven't had anybody misuse any of our videos, and we hope that we don't, but signing that release form at least gives us a little bit of protection and gives people a heads up about the possibilities and what we can be responsible for.
Do you have any concerns about participants violating copyright rules with the content that they share? Is there anything in the guidelines that talks about original content?
There is. In the guidelines, it does talk about that everything must be original, and we don't even want a video that they created for another site. We want it to be all original for the LibraryYOU. So it says that all submissions must be original. Do not submit material which has been posted online or submitted elsewhere. No copyright infringement or plagiarism. This includes the background music. And then on the website we created a blog post for where to find royalty-free music to use in your videos. And that's also something that we make sure that we teach in our podcasting and video classes too.
Okay. Let's see. So seeing some questions about level of staff involvement. So does the staff stay in there the whole time and work with someone, or are they really working to get people editing, learning how to edit, and doing the editing of their own stuff? Or what, are patrons left alone to work on things, or is there staff in there the whole time, and is staff really doing that, doing the work of editing the materials?
So far it has just been the staff that has done the recording and editing. We've had some people who are contributors that are excited about learning on their own, so they've taken our classes. And what happened is we were so booked up because the recording studio staff was part-time, and then we didn't have anybody to kind of let people in and get them started during the grant period. Right now we're sort of transitioning into a period where we would like to possibly let some people in there alone, or maybe do some one-on-one lessons with the staff so they're comfortable enough with the equipment to start using it on their own, but we have not started doing that yet. Our whole library is looking at doing the Book a Librarian program that many libraries have been doing, where you actually schedule time with a staff member to learn something, whether it's a job search or maybe it's video editing. And so we're hoping to be a part of that program, so we're getting a lot more people in there. I sort of see this in different stages. I mean, when you write a grant, I think sometimes you're overly optimistic about everything that you can get to within the grant period. And I think that really it happened in phases. So, we got the staff on, we established what we were doing, we had some learning lessons and bumps along the way. We created the website, we started getting people aware of the website and recruiting contributors. A lot of the people were a little older, or people that didn't have some of them just didn't have tech skills, or they just had never used video editing before in their lives. So some of them were a lot more dependent on us to do this for them. And that's when we started offering the classes towards the end of the grant, where we were saying, this is great, now it's your turn to start learning. But we know that we can't just teach a class and expect somebody to know how to do it. You have to give them access to the equipment. They need to start doing it over and over again. And so that's what we're working on now, is how do we give people access to the equipment? Can we move the studio out into a more public space where people can book the computers and the equipment for longer periods of time? Let's start scheduling more classes. We do have one woman who was thinking about podcasting before she even found out about this project. And she took our introduction to podcasting class and was so excited about it. She said, this is great, now I'm going to do this. And so she has spent a couple sessions, her first 2 interviews for her podcast. She's doing a podcast where she interviews local nonprofit people associated with nonprofit organizations. And she has been working with our digital services librarian for those first couple podcasts. And now we're in the process of sort of weaning her off and saying, you saw this, we taught you along the way, we've done this for you. And she'll be doing a little bit more work with us editing, and we're hoping to get her to a more self-sufficient stage. So I know this isn't going to work for everyone. You might not have the staff time at all to spend that time with people, and that's when I would tell you, put it on the public floor. Get a volunteer that knows a little bit more about this. We've had a couple volunteers present themselves to us that do know about audio editing, that have done podcasts, and they're starting to get ready to work with some of our new people doing podcasts for us. So that will take time away from the staff. We won't have to do quite so much of it now that we have some volunteers who are ready to start working with other people who don't have their skill level.
Okay. A couple of questions about forms or information. Are there collection development guidelines on the website or the blog? And then also, are there any special forms for minors? And any special forms, I guess, if they are contributing, are there any special forms for them? So collection development guidelines and forms for minors.
Yeah, on the website, if you go to the LibraryYOU website, in the navigation at the top there is a section called Participate. And we don't call it collection development guidelines, but we call it selection criteria because it's a little bit more public-friendly vocabulary. So that's the part. It just sounds like a collection development policy to a librarian. So we're saying that we want them to be instructional and educational. We want the authority of the author, presenter, accuracy of content, relevance to the community. This should sound like a collection development policy to many of you, that it's timely or has long-term significance, that it's objective, that it's suitable for our community. And so we do have that stated right on there, and we do have people review that again before they really start working on what it is they're going to be creating for us. On the release form that we do have a section at the bottom for parental permission. So any participants under 18 will have to have their parent or guardian sign the form saying that they can take part in this project.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, and then we are getting a lot of questions about software that you've mentioned. And again, I tried to keep track of that, and then I'm going to verify that with Donna, so that follow-up email will have links to those things too. This might be a good time to mention that, again, in the beginning I mentioned that TechSoup, that's a big part of what TechSoup does, is this donated software makes it available to nonprofits and to libraries. And I think we have Michael on the line from TechSoup, but I'm not sure that his microphone is activated. If it is, go ahead and let me know, Michael. But this is some of the things, the TechSoup donations related to digital content creation. TechSoup did a challenge, a digital storytelling challenge earlier in 2012, I think in February of 2012. And so after that was over, they collected all of the resources into a blog post, which is the collected digital storytelling resources. And that's one of the links that I'll send you, because it's just filled with different tech tools and advice on creating different types of online content. I've also got some tools on here. Movie Maker, Donna mentioned that's free. Other tools like Snapfish and Vimeo and YouTube, some of these are things that have been mentioned already, and I'm going to send links to all of these. These are just tools that might be useful to people who are getting started with this. Okay, so I guess Michael is tweeting this. Okay. Okay, so this is a great resource, and you can go back and hear other webinars, and if you might find something in here that really fits with how you're wanting to approach things. So just wanted to let you know that a bunch of resources will be available in that. Okay. And another thing that Donna and I wanted to talk about, or that we thought would be fun to talk about, is just what other libraries are doing. And maybe people can share in the text chat too, just what are you planning to do, or what are you already doing with podcasting, with videos, with fostering content creation in your communities. Something that is, one example is from International Falls, Minnesota, and I really like this one, not only because I grew up just a few hours from here. This is in far, far north Minnesota on the Canadian border, close to the Canadian border. And we're going to be spotlighting International Falls and their work with digital content on the TechSoup website, and that should be coming out anytime. But they also have photo editing software and video and audio recording equipment, and then made it available to the entire community, but really pushed it with their teens and encouraged them to tell their story. And one of the things that's been really popular for International Falls is a film festival. And so they encourage the locals to submit to that, but they also publicize it and take it worldwide. And the quote from Diane Adams, the librarian, just that those international contributions help people see that what they were doing in International Falls was just like what everyone else was doing. So kind of connecting people to the world, which I thought was great. So again, a bigger spotlight on International Falls will be coming. Another example, Create It. which is from Pima, Arizona, and they also have been focused on teens and doing media and tech classes and mentoring for youth with media and tech literacy. And just to let you know, the next benchmark webinar is going to be on October 19th, and our guest for that one will be Jennifer from this project. And she's not going to be talking about the same sorts of things that Donna talked about with content creation, but we're going to be focusing on a different benchmark, which is getting input from the community to inform your technology services. And that's something that Pima has really done, is that the teens have been really involved with creating this and with just ongoing being really driving this project to create it. So we're going to talk about that. How do you get community involvement in your technology? And then just one more that I'll mention, and then we'll see what you all have mentioned in the text chat. YOU Media in Chicago is a biggie. Of course, probably a lot of you have heard about this. It's teen learning space at Chicago Public Library, helping kids develop all sorts of digital media skills. And this project kind of inspired, or I think was one of the first, and then the IMLS grants and the MacArthur Foundation gave some pretty large grants to 8 different locations around the United States for them to develop digital learning spaces too. And libraries are at different stages with that, but one of the links that I'll send out is an article from American Libraries Magazine that outlines what those 8 different locations are thinking about doing with that. So those are just a few off the top of my head, or I guess not off the top of my head, but that are on my radar right now. And Donna, do you have others that are ones that you're watching or others that you've heard about?
You know, the one that really inspired me was YOU Media. That was probably where I got my idea in the first place. The Skokie Public Library in Illinois is doing some amazing things. I'm also watching all of these libraries like Fayetteville that are doing the maker spaces. That's something that we're also interested in. The print-on-demand books. I'm watching all of those. I've been trying to have a collection of libraries that are doing these things. When I just did a quick Google search the other day, it looks like Illinois is really the state that's doing a great job with these digital media labs, really giving people a chance. So they have YOU Media, they have Skokie, and several other communities have digital media labs there where they're letting people actually create music or videos or podcasts right there on the computers in their libraries. The Tacoma Public Library, I think, just created a space like this for teens. It sounds a little similar to YOU Media, where they can create their own digital content, so you could check that out as well. Those are the ones that I've seen.
I've added those to the list too, so that list of links that comes out after the webinar, the follow-up email we'll put links in there to those things too. Okay, well I guess at this point we'd like to hear more from you. Just what are people planning? What sorts of things have you already done with fostering content creation, or what have you already done, or what are you thinking about doing, I guess? Love to hear from you some examples too. And again, any more questions questions for Donna? Questions about LibraryYOU? So Donna, you see this as something that's an ongoing project for Escondido. Do you think this is something that's going to grow in importance in libraries in the future?
I hope so. I mean, that's what it sounds like. A lot of libraries are focusing on this content creation piece. And one of our areas where we excel is this local community knowledge area. I mean, we have a lot of local history, but we have a lot of people in our communities that have things to share. I mean, it's kind of neat to turn the tables and say you're coming to the library to get help from the librarian, but really now the librarians are sort of turning to the community and saying, what do you have to tell us? What do you have to offer? I think of the project where I can't remember, there's a library in Canada and maybe Santa Monica Public Library. I'm not sure about that. Did the project where you could check out real people to learn about what it's like to be a Buddhist, or what it's like to be a vegan, or all of these different things that these people identify as. And I see LibraryYOU as a project like that we're looking to the people in our community to share. And the other thing that's really neat is that we're bringing this information that's very local and we're bringing it to the world. I don't have the quote with me, but I know the Douglas County Library Director had some quote about how libraries used to bring the world to the local community, and now we're bringing the local community to the world. And by having this stuff online, people do a search for how to start your own vegetable garden, and they're finding our video. I made sure to do a little bit of SEO on the website to optimize our pages, but it's really neat to see that libraries are actually, we can take over the Google search results, if we're creating our own content, and that's a really neat thing too that we need to be looking at.
Okay, so people are sharing some examples. Ivan says that they would love to do a hackerspace and digital lab. I think that's something else that is really interesting, is all of the things happening in libraries with hackerspaces. Donna, have you thought about that at Escondido, or is there anything happening with hackerspace, having that at Escondido?
We have. I know that Stacy Aldridge, the California State Librarian, has been working with Make Magazine, and they did a little mini maker project for teens this summer that unfortunately we couldn't be a part of just because it was really close to summer reading program. We just didn't have time to plan for it, but we had her out here recently and we were talking to her about that, and she's hoping to do more, but unfortunately she is leaving California, and so hopefully the rest of the staff there is still working on that, maybe doing some makerspace grants or supporting that in California libraries. And our teen librarian is very excited about doing something like that. So we hopefully, if you watch us in the next year, we'll start working on plans to do that. San Diego does have a maker place. So they do have a local community space. It's about, 45 minutes from here, where I've actually toured the facility, where people can get access to quilting tools and embroidery tools and welding machines and carpentry machines, and take classes on robotics and all kinds of different things. So we do have a community here that is interested in this whole maker movement. So we are hoping to do that. It's just a matter of making the space and getting the grants, and I think our staff is on board, so that is something we're looking at.
And this is a good suggestion from the text chat on that too. Before creating it, just have you considered hosting a mini maker fair, which I think is a good idea. Just way to get lots of people.
We're looking at doing maybe a smaller, more mobile project. That's something that our teen librarian's working on to see what the interest is in our community. So yeah, mini maker fair, or maybe just doing just one-off programs, or just a small program series just to see what it's like before we actually dedicate the space to it. So yeah, we're looking at that. That's a great idea for other libraries to do a mini maker fair and see how your community responds.
Okay, I'm seeing some more examples in the text chat, people talking about we have a leftover digital storytelling station. We want to turn it into a multimedia project room. That's great. Oh, here's a question for you, Donna. Kathy Robbins says they're having a teen workshop on October 9th, and the teens get to help plan library technology. Is there a short video about LibraryYOU that they could show attendees? Is there something that you would recommend for that?
We have one that was just little clips of LibraryYOU videos. It's on our Vimeo site, I believe. If you look at our LibraryYOU Vimeo site, we have a short one there that we showed our city council. But I don't know if teens want to see other teens. Most of the, we didn't have any teen participants so far in any of our videos. They were all adults. But you get an idea of the variety of videos that we created for this project. So yeah, if you want to just do a short clip or just find a video that's, if you just want to show one of the videos, one of the how-to videos, you know, the balloon animal guy, that one's maybe fun for the teens, or one of the card trick videos. Yeah, I would encourage people to take a look at some of our content because there's some great stuff. Our #1 video is the quilting video foldy stuff, which I guarantee will make you laugh. So, and you will also learn a little bit about quilting if you're interested at all. So, but yeah, you could look at that. I'm developing another one, and the Digital Services Librarian is developing another short promo video for LibraryYOU for upcoming fall conferences that I will be attending. So hopefully that will be up in the next month. You can take a look.
Okay, this is a great example from Jackie that they are having patrons create simple book trailers in the Reading Rainbow style, and they're using a flip cam for that. And they're having local pageant winners deliver those, so that's great. I love that. Jackie, would you share a link to those, and we'll include it in the list of links?
And once your library starts using video, there's no end to what you can do. Now that we have a recording studio, some staff is starting to say, oh, we just developed a library tour video, which is on our YouTube site. You can have, if you're doing any career workshops, you can start filming people who want to see what they're like when they're being interviewed. It's good to actually see yourself to see if you have any facial expressions or how you're answering the questions. So for interview workshops for people, that's a great use. We did a couple book hauls. So haul videos were popular on YouTube for a while with teenage and young adult women who like to go shopping. They would go shopping and then show off what they purchased and why it was great. And so we encouraged some people. It didn't catch on, but maybe at your library it would. It would be great for the teens to tell us what they got at the library that day and make a book haul video for us. So many different things you could do with video. And book trailers are great.
Yeah, this is great. One of the things you said to me, Donna, when we were talking before today's session is that so you have some fairly sophisticated equipment because of the grant, and you were able to buy all of that, but you said, you know, you really could do something like this. I think you said using an iPad. And I thought that was such a great point with this, that you can do some pretty great creative things with some pretty simple equipment now.
Right, and we were looking at possibly extending this and doing more of a teen-focused LibraryYOU workshop series, but we did not get the grant funding for that. And part of that grant was to purchase iPads so the teens would be able to film and edit right on the same machine. Really, the thing that's nice about apps is that they are sort of stripped-down versions of software, and so just learning the basics of how do I import a video and how do I cut a video and how do I do transitions and how do I do titling text, you know, all of that you could learn on an iPad and just learn the basics of video. So iPads are a great tool. If you have one of those, or you can only get maybe a $1,500 grant or something like that, you could purchase a couple of those.
Okay, well, I think we have answered all of the questions that I saw in text chat. I apologize if I missed any. We will be blogging a follow-up post to this too, and that would be a place to post more questions in the comments there so we can continue the discussion. Thank you so much to everyone who shared examples and questions with us. I think that really helped make it an interactive session, and hopefully everyone learned a lot. I know I did. We do have a couple more webinars coming up. Let's see, October 19th is when Jennifer from Create It at Pima, Arizona, that she'll be here talking about involving youth in planning and implementing technology at the library. And then on October 30th, Penny Talbert and Stephanie Zimmerman, Stephanie is here today. Hi Stephanie. They will be here talking about how do you prepare staff so they're ready to handle all of this technology. How do you create a really tech-savvy staff? And they'll have some great examples and ideas on how to do that. I want to thank Donna so much for being here and for sharing her talents with us. And I love the LibraryYOU project. I think it's inspiring. I also want to thank Stephanie for helping us out so much with the text chats. That has been great. So again, we'll be following up with lots of links and lots of information. We'll have the blog post, which is a place to post questions. So let's continue the conversation there, and we hope to see you at the next webinar. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.